Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson football channel. I hope you guys are doing good. It's midweek. Chelsea are playing Everton on Saturday and I simply can't wait for that game. We have got serious work to do now in the Premier League top 5 race. Chelsea, we're still 6th in the league. Man City won last night. They've got some easy fixtures. I've done a video which is, I think, quite an entertaining video, but also a kind of damning video on more GBFC. It was uploaded a few hours ago where I break down all of the fixtures for all of the teams chasing the top 5. If you want to go and check that video out, I strongly recommend that you do. Card on the screen, link in the description, end screen of the video. If you make it all the way to the end of this news video. Today, we are going to break the news that Abramovich is breaking his silence. We don't know what he's going to say yet, but Abramovich to break silence on Chelsea sale. I quite often don't use the BBC as a source because reporting... we're not going to go into that, but you know what I mean, don't you? Former Chelsea owner Roman Abramovich will discuss the sale of the club in a new book set to be released this summer after giving his first interview in 4 years. Abramovich, who remains sanctioned by the UK government due to alleged links to Russian President Vladimir Putin, has conducted a 2-part interview about the £2.5 billion sale of Chelsea in 2022 to American consortium Todd, Boehly and Clearlake Capital, a deal which took place after Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Now, first of all, it's always a sour topic, this one, because it wasn't Roman Abramovich who was saying, go and invade Ukraine, please. But as a result of that, the UK, you know what we're like, we get involved with these things, don't we? And as a result of that, Roman Abramovich was the one who had his prized possession, his baby, as many people call it, Chelsea Football Club, taken away. And let's be honest, if we were to summarise what has happened to Chelsea Football Club since that time, well, first of all, these are the dates we won the Champions League. My arm is still got the same amount of tattoos on it as it did 3 or 4 years ago when we last won the trophy in 2021. And we've actually not won any trophies yet. And it's this tattoo arm thing we got going on here is, you know, reserved for the Champions League. So my skin might survive a few more years by the way things are going at the moment. The interviews took place in Abu Dhabi in January and in Istanbul a year prior and are said to include Abramovich's account of his initial takeover of Chelsea FC in 2004, the sanctions, his efforts in the previous peace process and his suspected poisoning in March 2022. My number one hope for all of this is that we don't see an overly sanitized book. I don't want this to be like missing out a load of the key points, missing out and sugarcoating a load of things, because you know what it's like, right? We're talking about Russian oligarchs, we're talking about billionaires, and Roman Abramovich is a very private guy. He very rarely did any interviews as Chelsea owner. He was very much in the background, but we saw the actual decision-making of Abramovich very much in the foreground. We went through manager after manager after manager, and I think Frank Lampard was one of the only managers that ever really got any kind of like personal thanks goodbye. So Roman Abramovich was always known for basically seeing Chelsea Football Club as a toy. He'd already made all of his money, he fell in love with football, then fell in love with Chelsea, and as a result of that, we were able to fall in love with countless world-class players over the years, and we were filled with that ecstasy and that unrivaled worldly feeling of being champions, of winning trophies, of being connected to a football club that is successful. And I will be eternally grateful for what Roman Abramovich made Chelsea Football Club into. So, the book named Sanctioned, the inside story of the sale of Chelsea FC, is written by Nick Purell and will also tell other stories from that accelerated 95-day sale run by Rainbank under the supervision of the UK government and will be released by Biteback Publishing this summer. The funds from the sale remain in a frozen bank account while Chelsea are aiming to qualify for the Champions League and win a trophy for the first time under the new American ownership. There's no denying, right? We've spoken about it almost on a daily basis, weekly basis. The club have fallen massively. There's a lot of people right now saying it's CFC LDN, not even Chelsea Football Club. I don't recognise Chelsea on an operational level. They came in, they tore up Abramovich's winning booklet. people are going to come and say, well, we didn't win a Premier League trophy for years before that. But I look at football in like periods of time. Even when it had been 2017 since we last lifted a Premier League, we then lifted the big ears in 2021. So this argument for me never sits very well. We can all see the league positions. We can all see the lack of trophies, the 0 trophies since these owners came in. And the Conference League, it will be thrown around as another European trophy that Chelsea have won, but I'm not even sure we're going to win that, to be quite honest. Betis or Fiorentina in the final, if we get there, that is. No disrespect to our Swedish opponents in the semis, but does anyone really care? Let's be real. Like, I want to win it. I'd rather win it than not win it. But if we're talking about a trophy like that, I'd rather win it than not win it. Then, that shows the levels in which we've fallen. But anyway, Roman Abramovich, we're going to find out a bit more. And like I say, I just really hope this isn't some kind of sanitized, watered down, missing out the facts. I hope we get to actually hear what he thinks about these new owners, what he thinks about what has happened to his club. I really hope that is going to be in there as well. But anyway, let's move now into the next piece of news today. Chelsea take lead in race for Huijsen and hoping to get deal done before the Club World Cup. Now, Miguel Delaney might not be known as always the most reputable journalist when it comes to Chelsea news, but Dean Huijsen, apparently Liverpool, Real Madrid, they're no longer in the race to sign him. And if that is the case, I think there are certain players, right, where I talk about Chelsea needing to have some experience, needing some leadership in the team. There are certain young players, right, that are actually just a little bit too good when the opportunity arises to turn your nose up at. He's got a release clause at Bournemouth, and this are the stats for this season for Dean Huijsen. In terms of what his best stat, interceptions, top 1% in European football. Expected goals, he's in there as well. Clearances, shot creating actions, progressive carries, touches, everything. Absolutely everything you could want in a modern day defender, whether it is Enzo Maresca, boring position, rigid base football or not. This guy is at the very top. And already, it's not like he's playing in Spain and we're like, well, he's 19. Is he going to be good enough? Can he come to the Premier League and do it? He's playing for Bournemouth, for goodness sake. This guy is available this summer, and I think Chelsea Football Club, definitely something to be said this season about we've been much better when Wesley Fofana's in the team with Levi Colwill. That is when we have looked most solid defensively. And even in the last few games where we've seen Trev and Colwill at the back, there's been moments where I'm like, bloody hell, our defence just isn't good enough. So there is a lot of question marks. Who would be the right-sided centre-back? It would probably be Dean Huijsen alongside Levi Colwill, but these numbers, he's in the top 24% as well for aerials won. So in terms of an all-round game, Dean Huijsen has got pretty much everything in his locker. Progressive carries is also a big one, which we don't necessarily always see that from Chelsea defenders because the centre-backs are quite often just passing it side to side. But you can see the shot-creating actions here. He's in the top 5% of players for shot-creating actions, 1.62 per 90 minutes. And even pass completion, 84.5%. It looks relatively low, but that is considering he plays a lot of long balls at Bournemouth. And I think when I've spoken about it this week on a couple of videos, when we see Chelsea, particularly in the early phases at Craven Cottage, I could see us going long a little bit more. And immediately I'm like, you can literally see how that is actually beneficial for us because we'd hit the ball long. Fulham defenders would have to either head it out for a throw-in. Meanwhile, it's taken us 3 seconds then to get into the opposing half of the pitch to be in the attacking third, as opposed to just constantly struggling to break down a low block. When you've got someone like Dean Huijsen that can actually find a pass, that can pass through the lines, between the lines, I think this would be an unbelievable signing for Chelsea. And we've seen so many times this season for Bournemouth. Huijsen gets the ball, carries it out from the back. Then there's a run of Milos Kerkesh on the left. Then you've also got Semenyo, who's a pacey winger. And I think we can recreate this at Chelsea. I think Cucurella is so good going forward that even if you go like for like, at Bournemouth, quite often, Huijsen fires the ball forward on the left side. Kerkesh overlapping. Semenyo then comes inside, and Bournemouth score goals that way. And he's very much up there when it comes to those shot-creating actions. 1.62 per 90. Dean Huijsen, I know I've said for so long, we need leaders. We do need leaders. So, I don't know what you guys think about this, but Jonathan Tah at Bayer Leverkusen is available this summer. I don't think he's a started centre-back for Chelsea, okay? But he's available on a free, and he's an experienced player to have in the squad. Could be a decent option to come in and play at that right centre-back if the House and Colwill partnership doesn't work, but I genuinely think it will. And I think he'll actually elevate Levi Colwill's game. I think Housen has got the ability to play in that right centre-back position, and Wesley Fofana, unfortunately, I just think he's out injured far too often. There is too many repeated moments. But as of right now, we're going to wait and see when it comes to Dean Huijsen for more reputable sources to come through. But we are reading that Liverpool, Real Madrid, they're not going to pay that release clause. So Chelsea apparently coming in there with a 7-year contract for Dean Huijsen. Interesting. Let's see what happens. Borussia Dortmund will open talks with Chelsea to keep Carney Chukwuemeka also next season. Deal conditions to be discussed again, but BVB want to try to keep Carney at the club after 6-month loan. At this point, I think this is a good thing. I don't think Carney Chukwuemeka, I think this would have been the season. Last year, I still wonder, and it's such a what-if thing, but what if he didn't get injured in that game at West Ham where he scored a great goal, and then within 10 minutes he goes off injured, season ruined under Pochettino. I wonder what we would have got from Chukwuemeka. I certainly think we would get a lot more energy and a better footballer than what we've seen of Nkunku this season. We could have sent Nkunku on loan to flipping Borussia Dortmund if they would have been interested in him and kept Chukwuemeka at Chelsea. But I think if he wasn't going to play this year, with Esteval come in, with Chelsea linked with more strikers and whatever, and maybe that means adaptation for a role for Jackson, I think Chukwuemeka's chance at Chelsea is done. And he's had a good spell at Dortmund. And he's getting Champions League football. Obviously not anymore, they're out, but it's been a good move, I think, for Carney Chukwuemeka, and I want to see him succeed. I think he's a good footballer. I think he deserves so much better than the treatment he's had here at Chelsea. The final story that I'm going to discuss today, I don't want to talk about it too much, but Chelsea have held discussions with the agents of Fulham striker Rodrigo Muniz and Eintracht Frankfurt's Hugo Ekitike. I think when it comes to these stories that we're talking about here right now, I would be slightly concerned about Chelsea and the striker position because, look, Victor Osimhen, I'm seeing some rumours and some stories are saying that it could be available for about 40 million quid. Manchester United really want Osimhen. I spoke about this earlier this week. The news is that he's Man United's number one target. Why are we not going in for him? You know why. We don't want to pay the wages, but Rodrigo Muniz and Hugo Ekitike. I think Ekitike's too young. Adaptation period in the Premier League. We don't have time for this nonsense anymore. And Rodrigo Muniz, good striker for Fulham, but not Chelsea level, in my opinion. Let me know your thoughts on all of today's Chelsea news in the comments down below. As I said at the start of this video, more GBFC. I'm also uploading there every single day. We're closing in on 6,000 subscribers now. The channel's growing nicely. There's 2 videos I'd love you to check out there. The one about Dean Huijsen, full video on him. And also the one today about the Champions League places, because I think we're going to be neck and neck with 2 clubs on points come the end of the season. Link down below. I'll speak to you later.